Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the Rookie Stripes podcast here on Racing News Now. I'm Garth. That is the IndyCar maniac himself, Mr. Tyler Guthrie. What's going on?
I do not care about NASCAR at all right now.
Okay, getting that out of the way early. I like it.
Yeah, I've got the double monitor set up over here. I've got IndyCar practice up top on the big screen and you on the little tiny bitch screen down here.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so when you see Tyler for most of the episode going, it's because he's looking at IndyCar practice.
It's because the most important race in the world is on the other monitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not the race though. It's practice. It's practice, man. We talking about practice.
It's leading up to the race, dude.
Oh.
You got to memorize all the storylines. That way you go into 500 race day and you meet all the drunk Indiana people and they're like, I don't know who's going to win the race. I'm like, I can tell you exactly who's going to.
Tyler's going to come in and he's going to look like he's hopped up on something, just walking around. I'm going to tell you who's going to win this race. I'm an expert. I know exactly who's going to win this race.
I know everything about everything.
That's going to be Tyler.
I know something about everything, even if it's not a lot.
That's right. Jack of all trades, master of none. He knows a little bit about everything, but not a lot about anything.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's something to be proud of or what, but
I don't know. It's worked out so far.
I guess so.
And I've made it almost 23 years, so.
You did. Let's talk Darlington. We had 3 races. I feel like, is it just me or is Throwback Weekend losing its luster? And I say that not because I personally don't like Throwback Weekend anymore. It's because half of the cars are not doing throwbacks anymore. It's only like maybe half the field that has throwbacks.
Well, it's entirely which teams decide to give a damn about it. I mean, you saw the Hendrick cars; those are perfect throwbacks to iconic paint
and they
schemes.
always are.
And even they get the teams into it, they get drivers into it. Like, it looks like it's the whatever time period those cars are racing at Hendrick Motorsports. But you go to other teams like
JGR.
I mean, okay, I know I hate Joe Gibbs anyway. But every year when we have Throwback Weekend, I lose even more respect for Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, because they either don't do throwbacks or the ones they do are total.
Well, and even
except Kyle Busch's throwbacks were usually pretty good. When he had M&Ms on the car, his throwbacks were generally pretty good. But that was the exception, not the rule at JGR.
I think that was just an M&M's thing too.
Yeah, it probably was.
I mean, M&M's has a long history in NASCAR, and Joe Gibbs
had a long history in NASCAR.
Joe Gibbs is just senile and old and doesn't give a about anything except for Ty Gibbs anymore. So,
I mean, Rick Hendrick's getting pretty old too, but that doesn't stop him.
No, but Rick Hendrick's passed off a lot of the racing side stuff to Jeff Gordon and Chad Canals. So, I mean, that team is, for all intents and purposes, it's got Hendrick's name on it, and it's run by Jeff Gordon right now.
Yeah.
Which is really cool for me, being a Jeff Gordon fan as a kid, seeing him step into that role now and still be around the sport. It's awesome. But the teams that put in just a little bit of effort for Throwback Weekend make it awesome. And I mean, you've even had Trackhouse try to do a couple throwbacks past couple years. I don't think they did them this year. The Ross Chastain's was stupid because it was like a throwback to a different Budweiser can. Like, okay, whatever. Same difference. It's all piss water. But they've done a couple really good ones. And then Teresa Earnhardt tried to ruin half of them. So you get stuff like that where Teresa comes in and is like, you can't have the number 1 on your car in that font. And it's like, shut up, you old hag.
Was Suarez is an actual throwback to anything, or was it just like supposed to be just the old Quaker State logo?
Suarez was a throwback to the winningest open wheel Mexican driver,
which is,
I don't remember. It was
some You're the open wheel guy.
It was some IndyCar dude, but it's been like a long time ago.
Okay,
but it was an actual legit. It wasn't a NASCAR one, though, so people like you are like, other sports exist?
Excuse you? I know other sports exist. I just don't recognize old Indy cars.
Adrian Fernandez, 2004 Quaker State paint scheme.
I know that name.
So, I mean, that was also a Quaker State paint scheme. So that's
Yeah.
driver and sponsor related throwback, which that's another thing. If the sponsor don't get on it, abysmal.
Oh yeah, like there's been years. I remember one specifically where when Ryan Newman was in the six and he was thrown back to one of Mark Martin's Valvoline schemes, but
Hmm.
he had Oscar Mayer on the car that weekend, and Oscar Mayer would not budge. They had to use Oscar Mayer colors, so
Yeah,
it
it was
was
like an
literally the
orange and
Valvoline.
it was
Huh?
like an orange and yellow Valvoline paint scheme. It's like,
Yes, and it
"Ugh,
didn't look right. It looked
that's
terrible.
gross."
Yeah,
But I
like
mean, so here's my thing with Throwback Weekend. I've loved the idea of Throwback Weekend ever since they started it. I think it's awesome to have paint schemes from different time periods that are iconic and important in NASCAR, and just throw it into a track that's also iconic and important in NASCAR. Darlington's the best place for it. It's
mhm.
just awesome. They moved it away from the night race, which killed it, in my opinion. And then as it's gone on, teams have gotten less and less creative with it. And I mean, what was Martin Truex Jr.'s throwback this week to like 3
It
weeks
was
ago,
no, it was his first win with auto owners in 2016 in the 78 car.
which is literally the same paint scheme as it is now.
Very close, yes.
And for all intents and purposes, it did not matter that they even.
Yeah. Like if
You
somebody
even
hadn't
got,
specifically told me that that was a throwback, I wouldn't have known it was a throwback.
yeah, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Kyle Larson's Terry Labonte
Mhm.
throwback that was just perfect. That
Fantastic.
was my favorite paint scheme I've ever seen on the next gen car.
Same. Would you go so far as to say that was paint scheme of the weekend? Because I would.
I probably would, even though
Mhm.
I'm Jeff Gordon biased. I just that Kellogg's Terry Labonte paint scheme is just iconic.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was even cooler that they actually brought Terry out to the track and they had Terry in the booth for a long time. And they surprised Terry with everybody from his 96 championship team that they could find. I thought
Well,
that was
and
really cool.
Hendrick's been doing stuff like that all year. They've
Hmm.
got the Hendrick Homecoming event. Forget if it's this coming weekend or if it's the 600 weekend. But then they did their 40th anniversary stuff at Martinsville. Like, Hendrick is the sole reason why anybody gives a damn about NASCAR previous to last year.
Right. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Um, I think personally, I think if they're going to keep doing throwback weekend, because it's going to keep getting to the point where you're either going to have teams that are getting lazier and lazier with it and going the JGR route, or they're just not going to do throwbacks at all. One, I think they need to move it back to the Southern 500 because their whole reasoning with it being taken away from the Southern 500 was because they didn't want to distract teams from the playoffs. Well, that race isn't in the playoffs anymore. Put it back in the Southern 500 and
Okay, if you're distracted from the playoffs and winning a championship because your paint scheme looks a little different, you need to grow the up.
yeah, right. But either way, and on top of that, they need to mandate that every team runs a throwback. It doesn't have to be a NASCAR throwback. Some of the best ones aren't NASCAR throwbacks,
Oh,
but they need
I
to run
think
some sort of a throwback.
I think that if you don't run a throwback, you should start a lap down.
I think that would be great.
Yeah,
That would be
like,
hilarious.
and it is that part of me looking at Ty Gibbs' lazy ass. He gets us paint scheme and just going "F you," get to the back. That's entirely what it is.
Yeah,
But
right.
I just hate how you've got like new fans coming into the sport. NASCAR's had ratings up somewhat this year. We've had a good year so far with almost every race. And then you get like one of the most influential teams with basically all of Toyota just dropping a giant dud
Hmm.
on throwback weekend. And to me, it doesn't even come across as, oh, we couldn't really find anything that we really wanted to do. Because if you just come out and say, hey, we couldn't really find anything, but we're going to like invite people that were important to our team to come to the
Hmm.
race, that's
But that's the
cool.
thing. JGR cannot use that excuse. Think just even if you use old JGR schemes, think of all the classic schemes that that team could use. Yeah, think of all the
Yeah.
iconic 18 schemes that we've had over the years. Denny's even had some iconic schemes he could throw back to.
When
You
and
can't
the
tell me
first
there's not.
Toyota, the first Toyota to do a um Tony Stewart throwback was Daniel Suarez after he left Joe Gibbs.
That wasn't even a Toyota. That was when he was at SHR.
That was the year he was driving 96. They did a Tony
Was
Stewart
it?
throwback too. Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I just remember when he did the it was either 2002 or 2005 championship car when he was in the 41.
Yeah, I mean the SHR cars had some decent ones then, but it's just it comes across as really pathetic and lazy. And when you've got a team that I just hate in general, and then they do things that are pathetic and lazy, it's just
Yeah. Even if you have to even if you want to go back super far, go back to like the 50s. If you want to do a throwback from that time period, great. I love looking at some of these cars, not knowing what they are and learning what they're throwing back to. Like
yeah,
I loved Larson's car, but I knew instantaneously what it was. I remember that car vividly. But there
right.
were some cars like Kaz Gralla was throwing back to like somebody in the 50s or 60s. I don't remember exactly what it was. I knew it at one point. But to be able to research and find out what he's throwing back to, that's just as fun as seeing cars that I remember from my childhood.
Yeah, and you get like the sponsors that don't want to change the logo, or which I think is weird because you get these top level teams that have really recognizable sponsors that are like, no, I'm not changing my logo for this race. It's like, okay, that's lame. But then you
Mhm.
get people like Kaz Gralla and different teams that barely even have enough money to buy charters, that their sponsors are like, oh, that's cool. We'll do
Yeah.
whatever we need to with our logo. It looks exactly like the old cards they were throwing
Mhm.
it back to. And it comes across as, again, really lazy, really pathetic. And it's one of those things where NASCAR is actively doing something to try to make history relevant
Mhm.
for just 1 week a year.
Yeah.
And half the teams are like, eh.
I don't understand why, going back to your point about some of these sponsors not being willing to budge on their logo or their colors or even the entire scheme. I don't understand why when these teams, you know when throwback weekend is every year. It's not a surprise. It's always at Darlington. Now it might
Yeah,
depend on which Darlington race it is, but it's always at Darlington. So I don't understand why when these teams are signing these sponsors and they're picking which races they want to be on the car, they don't have Darlington circled and they go, oh, now hold on. If you pick Darlington, that's throwback weekend. So if you pick that race, you need to be willing to work with us on a throwback scheme. We might be changing your logo, we might be changing your colors, but you need to understand that if you pick this Darlington race, you're going to be on a throwback scheme and your logo, your colors, or whatever might change for that one race.
I'd want it. Like if I was a team owner, I'd want to have my sponsors like collectively the whole year, every sponsor come together as like a lottery and be like, all right, all of you submit a throwback paint scheme for
Mm-hmm.
Darlington, and whichever one's the coolest paint scheme is the one that we're going to pick and promote the hell out of that weekend.
I like that
Even like the
idea.
Castrol car for Brad Keselowski this week, that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even a NASCAR throwback,
Yeah.
and that thing was cool.
Yeah. I I like that. The only issue I have with that, the only problem I see coming from that is a lot of these sponsors, the higher up management may not necessarily be NASCAR fans, so they may not be able to
Yeah,
necessarily come up with a throwback, but that doesn't mean they're not willing to go, okay, you want to do this throwback, that's okay. We can do that for one race. But they may
yeah,
not necessarily be able to come up with a throwback on their own.
yeah. I mean, just hire a lefty to make every paint scheme for throwback weekend.
That would be great.
That'll be
Did he
awesome.
make any this week?
I think he was helping with the Hendrick one because he's like contracted with Hendrick or something
Is he?
now.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Did you see the Byron Exalta paint schemes that he like released that were thought about for this year?
I don't think so.
He released like 5 or 6 pictures that were the in the running for the Byron Exalta paint scheme this year, and they're like contemporary versions of the Jeff Gordon blue and red flames paint scheme.
Hmm.
All of them are cool as hell, and they like got to review process, and then they're like, "Oops, we ran out of time. We can't pick one." It's like,
Nice.
corporate bullshit is ruining not only the country but the sports and the world. And I'm gonna sound like an angry old man if I keep going on the sentence. So,
I mean, you sound like that normally, so I don't know how that's any
dude,
different.
I'm gonna be like 30 years old and the get off my lawn guy.
Oh,
So
you're already getting there.
yeah, I just don't have a lawn to tell people to get off of yet.
That seems like a you problem.
And hopefully, it's not a problem for that much longer. But you know,
Well, fair enough.
get off my lawn.
Yeah. So now hold on, because Byron threw back to the blue and red flames a couple years ago. Wasn't that the year that Logano punted him into the wall with a couple laps to go?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Well,
so why didn't they just go with that if they were going with something like that?
Well, it wasn't going to be for the throwback. It was going to be
Well, no, I know.
season
Yeah.
paint scheme. But
I mean, if they're going to go with something similar, why not go with the classic?
there were some that were pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just one of those things where, I mean, Exalta's done some cool stuff, but they're never going to be as cool as DuPont.
Yeah.
Because DuPont, like, for special races, always had some wacky, cool paint scheme they were promoting. And they didn't show up with the Raptor car for 3/4 of 2 seasons. And that thing is disgusting.
Yeah.
Also, Colton Hurd is flipping off Christian Rasmussen in practice right now.
Oh, nice.
Giving them the bird at 220 mile an hour.
Nice.
I love it. That's my favorite driver.
Herta is your favorite driver?
Yeah.
Or Rasmussen?
Herta. Who the is Rasmussen? Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Good thing we fired Connor Daly just to get flipped off by Colton Herta.
Tyler's weekly bitch session about getting rid of Connor Daly.
Weekly? Dude, this is like hourly right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
I ordered a Connor Daly t-shirt to wear to the race.
Did you really?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm very happy about it.
You're not very happy about it?
I am very happy.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I wonder if anybody's got any Connor Daly merch, and I went on a couple websites, and there's a place that sells like just general Indiana merchandise, but it's like sponsored and designed by Connor Daly and the people on his podcast, and it's like Connor Daly with the number, like car number and like sign.
So does he not have his own like merch site then?
He does. This is like off of his site.
Okay.
But promoted through an Indianapolis area thing.
Okay.
So Connor Daly's cool as hell. I love Connor Daly.
I agree.
Friend of the podcast, Connor Daly.
Is he a friend of the podcast?
Not yet, but it'd be cool.
I mean, I'm sure we could try to get him on.
More like we'd be getting on there, but yeah.
Well,
or either one. I don't know.
I mean, we could get him on here.
Connor Daly's cool.
It might take some work and it might be a few months to get it scheduled, but I bet we could get him on here.
Dear Connor Daly, I think you are cool. Can you talk to me and my friend?
I mean, I wouldn't word it exactly like that.
I'm gonna bump into him at the track on Monday and be like, "Hey, man."
Yeah, just be like, "Hey, you want to be on our podcast?"
Yeah, and he'll be like, "What?" No. Who are you guys?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Truck race this weekend was slightly interesting. I think it was more interesting than I think it should have been because Kyle Busch bent it on lap 2 like a scrub. Ran out of talent on
twice.
lap 2. Yeah. Well, the second time,
blew a tire, but
yeah, the second time he blew a tire, and he'd even said when he came into the pits after the first one, he's like, "It's killed," and he even said he's like, "We shouldn't have gone back out that second time," but they told him to go back out, so he went back out.
Yay!
So I can't really blame him for the second time, but the first time literally spins out on his own off a turn 2, slams it into the inside wall.
The second one was a cause of the first one, so
yeah, exactly. It was a side effect of the first one.
You can still blame him, and I'm all for blaming Kyle Busch for random things. So
the funny thing was, he came very close because you could tell something was wrong down into 3 as everybody was lapping him. He was super slow, and as he goes straight to the wall with that flat tire, he almost took out Eckes and somebody else. Just
Did you hear
straight to the wall.
Jamie Little's broadcast commentary for that?
Oh my god!
Right in front of our leaders again. Yeah. I'm like, well, the first time he was leading when he wrecked, so
well, and
in front of the leaders.
She says right in front of the leaders, and like the 4th and 5th place guys were lapping him at the time, so not really right in front of the leaders.
Right in front of the leader, Christian Eckes, who's in 4th right now.
Yeah. Typical Jamie Little in the booth.
And then she's on the pit road broadcast for the NASCAR race, and it's like, oh, cool. Or the Cup race, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, nice.
Which that I don't mind. I think she's a great pit reporter. She cannot do play-by-play, though.
Oh, yeah. I've been saying that for years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. Like,
is even worse.
Yeah, like, I get it. Like, I don't have a problem having a female doing play-by-play in there, but make it somebody who can actually do it.
Just not her.
Yeah.
And not like, Danica Patrick either. Don't go getting any ideas.
Huh?
Not Danica Patrick either. Don't go getting any ideas.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure you can find someone that is a female that can do play-by-play better than her. I'm sure you can do it, Fox. Not that Fox cares about anything at this point. I mean, they did just cancel Race Hub.
I did forget that it was Fox that we're talking about. So maybe they can't, but I'm sure someone could.
Yeah.
Did you see that the Coke 600 next year is going to be on Prime?
I did. Yes, it'll be the first race on Prime.
Yeah, which, I mean, honestly, it's 2024 and it'll be 2025 by then. If you don't have Amazon Prime in 2025, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Like, I have seen a lot of complaints about that. Like, oh, this is going to go over well. It's
have
like,
you seen
again,
the
as you
NFL
said, it's 2024.
Recently?
How do you not have Prime at this point?
Have you seen the NFL recently? You need like 3 different subscriptions to watch the Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night games.
Don't NFL my NASCAR.
Have you tried to watch baseball at all recently? It's almost impossible.
Right?
I'm paying more to watch the Cubs games than I am to watch all of the NFL games and all the NASCAR races every year.
Dude, basketball is the same way. Outside of like the couple of nationally televised games every week, like for the Pacers, I had to buy, what is it, Bally Sports?
Yeah. Which is marquee up here for Cubs.
Yeah. Which Bally Sports, you can only, I'm pretty sure there was only a yearly subscription. I don't think there was a monthly, or if there was, the monthly was outrageous too. The yearly subscription for Bally Sports is more than a yearly subscription to NBA League Pass.
But the paying like $7 a month for free shipping on any package you order to also watch a NASCAR race and a football game a week and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. You know what's real about that? Because I thought I had gone real smart with that. I thought I'd gone big brained when I found out about Bally Sports and I was starting to get back into the Pacers this year. I was like, oh, I can just buy NBA League Pass. I'll get the Pacers on there and I can watch any other game I want to watch.
Nope.
Well, psych, the Pacers are blacked out around here on NBA League Pass. I still have to get Bally Sports.
Yep. Well, it's like up here, I could watch Cubs games on TV, but the White Sox are the NBC Chicago thing.
Mm-hmm.
But every Cubs game or Sox game is broadcast on NBC Sports Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But because the Cubs are on the north side of town, ain't. And I'm like, what? Who actually would prefer to watch the Sox over the Cubs?
I've met a couple people, but not very many.
I don't get it. Of course, I live on the south side of Lake Michigan now, so I'm in Sox territory, but everything around the Sox stadium is just trashy, and the Cubs are on the north side of town, which is all the rich people. So I'm like, ooh.
Only other thing to talk about with the truck race was Corey Heim dominated, then got caught up in a typical Truck Series wreck late.
Then he died.
Yeah. And Ross Chastain's back and winning truck races again.
Yeah, I feel like I need to backpedal on my comment last week. Oh, it's Ross Chastain in an East truck. What's he going to do with it? And then he wins the race. I'm like, oh.
He proves you wrong. He heard you say that and he went, oh, challenge accepted.
Well, I guess I need to say that in the Cup Series more because Trackhouse has been abysmal this year other than Suarez's win.
Yeah. Nothing really going on in Xfinity either, other than Allgaier dominating. That was really about it. Um, have you heard the SHR rumors?
Before we get to that, can we talk about Colleague and how mid they have been in both series this year?
We've already talked about this. They're stretching themselves thin because they started the Cup team and they can't handle it.
Now they can't even handle the Xfinity team. Like they still got AJ Allmendinger in there, who was good for a couple years, and now they just are bad there too.
That's what I'm saying, though. I think having the Cup team is pulling resources away from the Xfinity team, and it's finally starting to show.
Well, and the Cup team right now being Derek Kraus sometimes and Daniel Hemrick, like who thought that was a good idea?
Right. Derek Kraus, who has no prior experience in the Cup Series before getting in this car. And they've got Allmendinger in there sometimes, but even he hasn't been great.
And he's
But
got like a win here and there, but not really in the next gen car as much.
he won last year.
Oh, he did?
He won at the Roval last. Was it the
No.
Roval? He won somewhere last year on a road course. I think it was the Roval.
But even then, like he hasn't had a lot of full time experience in this car either. So I don't see what Derek Kraus is bringing to that team at all, other than just data from circling laps for a better teammate. But the better teammate is Daniel Hemrick, so
Right.
I don't get it, but whatever.
I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, SHR. Maybe no more SHR.
That's what it sounded like. There's a lot of rumors floating around. Some I think have more validity than others. I think the biggest thing right now that we can take away is there's a very good chance SHR in its current form will not exist next year. Now, what I have heard as the strongest possibility as to what is happening next year, and this is all still up in the air, so this could change, but what I have heard as the strongest possibility next year is that Tony Stewart leaves SHR, leaves just Gene Haas. They sell two of the charters. One goes to Trackhouse, one goes to Front Row. Haas goes back down to a two-car team. Cole Custer comes back to Cup, and they bring back the 00. And I believe Ryan Preece probably stays as the second car.
Okay.
I believe
Harrison
Gregson
out.
huh?
Harrison Burton out at front row, and probably Briscoe in there, or not front
Yes,
row.
that
Wood
Briscoe
Brothers.
is sounding like the leading candidate to replace Harrison Burton at the 21. I don't know where Harrison Burton lands,
Nowhere.
but
Hopefully.
it sounds like Tony is going into co-ownership at Front Row, and I believe is taking Noah Gragson with him, and maybe Josh Berry.
What? Because McDowell's out, so that
McDowell's
leaves
out going to Spire.
Who's the other front row? Is that the Zane Smith?
Todd Gilliland.
Todd Gillen. Ooh.
As far as I'm aware, Todd Gilliland stays, and so Front Row will be a 3 charter team. Pretty sure Gragson is going, and Barry is probably going with him if Briscoe goes to the Wood Brothers.
Okay, I heard another one that would be SHR is just gone, including Haas, which would be, from what I saw, was 2 charters to Front Row and 2 charters Trackhouse.
I saw that as well, and from what I have heard, that is not what's happening.
Okay. I wouldn't see if
Haas
just
will still be around in some way, at least as of right now.
If just Haas was left, I don't see them staying around for much longer.
I mean, and that's quite possible, but Haas was around before Tony came in and made it SHR. So
And they were terrible then too.
Oh, they were. Yeah, so I could totally see Haas sticking around just as a mid to back of pack team, and that's just what they are.
I mean, if you're Gene Haas, you got to be looking at your F1 team and your NASCAR team and saying, wow, we suck at both of these. Maybe it's just time to stop.
Yeah, right. I don't know. So, and then, so if what I'm being told is true, one of those charters, of course, going to Trackhouse, that would be for Zane Smith to slide into after he vacates the 71 for Michael McDowell.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if Trackhouse is gonna get another one somewhere and make it a 4-car team or not, but
I've heard rumblings of that, but I don't know where they're going to get the other one from unless SHR sells more charters than just the two.
when I think if SHR sells more than just the 2 charters, I wouldn't be surprised to see 2311 try to pick up another one too.
I wouldn't either. Like if what you are hearing is true and Haas goes away altogether and they sell all four, I could see one going to Furniture Row, two to Trackhouse, and one to 2311.
Yeah. Furniture Row. You just
Oh, did I?
You
Front
just like
row.
brought back a new team.
Yeah, right. Well, you know,
Furniture
funny
Row's
enough,
back.
Spire
Denver
is the
Mattress Team.
remnants of Front Row, so or
Yeah.
Furniture Row. So
Furniture
there's
Row's
that.
back. Get ready for Denver Mattress black cars.
That's right.
2 of them. One says Furniture Row. The other one says Denver Mattress. Hit the track. Let's go.
Well, no, if we're going true classic, one says Furniture Row, the other says 5 Hour Energy.
Oh God!
Because when Eric Jones was in the 77,
don't remind me of these days.
Was that when they left Clint Boyer? I think it was. That Boyer left Michael Waltrip Racing and 5 Hour Energy went to Eric Jones and Furniture Row. That's right. That's how that went.
Jeff Gordon taking out Clint Boyer at the last race of the season had so many butterfly effects.
Yep.
Oops.
The one and only year Clint Boyer ever had a shot at the championship.
Jeff Gordon made sure that didn't happen.
Yeah, right?
Not my proudest moment as a Jeff Gordon fan, but, you know.
Yeah.
It happens.
I did like when they got in the booth together, how they played on that a little bit for a while. Acted like they were still mad at each other over that.
Yeah, and then it was very obvious that neither one of them cared.
Yeah, right?
But, Cup race this weekend. Keselowski. Well, not this weekend, last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Keselowski, finally. That took for frickin' ever, and it only took Tyler Reddick being the least skillful driver in the field for turns 3 and 4 for it to happen.
Yes. I'll give Reddick credit. He knew he f***ed up. He readily apologized for it, but Buescher didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides. Reddick's like, yeah, I screwed up, and Buescher's like, we've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Just barely.
And the best part about that to me was when Buescher was yelling at Reddick, he's like, you've got one of those stickers, and I don't. Talking about win stickers.
It just looks like 2 toddlers yelling at each other. Yeah. You got a gold star, and I didn't.
I did find it really funny because Ty Gibbs parked right in front of Reddick on pit road after the race.
Backwards.
And
backwards.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't backward.
Yeah, because he didn't say anything to Brad in the cooldown lap, so he went past Brad on the front straight after everybody else coming in the pits, and then came in backwards from the other end. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, his car's backwards on the front side of pit lane.
Nice. So either way, yeah, parked right in front of Reddick, and the video of somebody following Buescher over to yell at Reddick, you see Ty look up, see Buescher, and just be like, nope, and beeline out of there.
Ty Gibbs a little bitch anyway, so.
Well, and it was I did find it funny because Ty took a screenshot of him noping out of there and posted it on social media, and it was like moments before disaster.
Ty Gibbs, right when he goes to talk to anybody in the universe because he doesn't understand confrontation.
Well, I mean, when you're like 3'6", I mean,
and your grandpa does everything for you. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, to be fair, Ty has kind of mellowed out since being in the Cup Series. I think he realized everybody hated him after that last Xfinity season. So he's kind of mellowed out and tried not to like ruffle any feathers since being in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
Especially after his whole deal at, was that Martinsville, where he tried to liken himself to Jesus?
That sounds like a Ty Gibbs thing to do.
Yeah, after that, nobody liked him. So he's kind of quieted down since then.
That doesn't surprise me at all. But
yeah,
I mean, he is Jesus just to Joe Gibbs. I mean,
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, it's really all I got for the Cup race. It was a fairly decent race. I mean, it's
Uh,
it's it's Darlington. I like
yeah,
how Darlington races. The beef with Byron, Blaney, and Truex, I didn't understand at all. I'm probably biased on this one, but I mean, yeah, Byron made it three wide, but the 19 was like just that far on both of their quarter panels and decided to stick it in there three wide. And at that point, the 24's got the position on you. I think it's very unfair to expect Byron to back out of it when he's more than three quarters of a car ahead of the guy in the middle.
well, that's typical Truex, though.
That is typical Truex. Truex has done something stupid like that almost every year at Darlington since we got the new cars. And he took out Chase Elliott that one year. That was with the old
Hmm.
cars, but even then, that's typical Truex here. It's just I think Blaney's mad at the wrong person.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time somebody has been mad at the wrong person in the moment because they didn't fully realize what happened yet.
Well, even then, they went back and showed him the replay after he got out of the care center, and he was like, "Yep, that's what I'm talking about. That little bitch right there." And I'm like, "What?
Nice.
Did you not notice the 19 only had a couple inches on both of your quarter panels?"
Apparently not.
I, I guess he
I
gets a
think
free
he's
pass.
expecting because Byron is his brother-in-law that he's supposed to cut him a little more slack than that.
Oh no, they broke up.
They did?
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is no relation there anymore.
Oh, maybe that's part of it.
Maybe it is. He treated my sister wrong.
Yep. Yep. I could see that. I could absolutely
On the
see
other
that.
side of another car, as far down to the dotted white line as he could possibly be, almost the entire corner, and then it's definitely not the guy in the middle's fault.
No,
Whatever, but that's probably most of my bias talking. But
it could be. Honestly, I didn't even see what actually happened there. I completely missed that. Which I end up missing a lot of the important things while trying to watch races at work. Um, but all I saw was the aftermath where Blaney came out of pit road and almost Days of Thundered Byron.
it's kind of unfair to say that somebody sucks at driving and then go to like intimidate them on track
Hmm.
and just forget that the banking increases and just go, oops.
Yep.
I wonder if NASCAR would have even done anything if he had like T-boned him and took him out of the race. Rubbin's racing like it.
I bet they would have just because he's the champion, and that would be a really bad look for the champion.
But also because he's the champion, I don't think they would have.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
It
I
is
don't know.
NASCAR, so there's the precedent for both sides, and it just
Yeah.
depends on which side their panties are stuck on each day. So
Hmm.
I don't. NASCAR is a joke when it comes to penalties, but
Yes,
whatever.
yes, it is. Um, I think that's all we've got for Darlington, though. Congratulations to Brad snapping that 110 race winless streak. Great to see him back in victory lane. Brad's one of the good ones, so it's good to see him
Yeah.
finding success again and finally finding success with RFK now as a co-owner.
Yeah, I mean, finding success for himself there. I mean,
Hmm.
Buscher's got a couple wins, but Brad's done a hell of a job with that team. That team was going nowhere until he got there. I will be the first person to admit I hated Brad when he was at Penske. Um, I that's just me being an angsty little 9-year old or whatever at the time. But I mean, Brad, since he mellowed out and quit killing everybody all every week, he's a
He still
great
does
dude.
that sometimes at Daytona and Talladega.
Well, usually it's against Logano now, so it's kind of
Yeah.
warranted. But I mean, Brad's a good dude. I loved seeing him celebrate with his daughters and the American flag. He always does that. That's always pretty cool. So good for Brad. Happy for him.
Yep. Same. Um. All right, Mister Open Wheel Expert. What do we got for Open Wheel this week?
It's Indy 500 month. We're on the oval. Mother Nature basically gave us both middle fingers and both middle toes this week. So they,
Middle toes. That would be talent.
it, it's what it looks like this week. Uh, we got 25 minutes of running in yesterday, and today they didn't start until 3 p.m. when it was scheduled to start at 10 a.m. So all the teams are kind of scrambling around. It's weird because I like Larson, but he's got a really weird, cocky attitude about this race, they were talking to him. And they were like, "What do you think about not being able to run at all so far this week?" And he's like, Instead of being like normal driver, I just want to be able to get out there, get my car dialed in, get some experience. I don't know what I'm doing here." He goes, "Well, I'm getting kind of bored hanging around the motorhome. Nothing about being worried about racing at
I
all."
mean, I wouldn't call that cocky. I would call that just his sense of humor.
He's got such a dry sense of humor, though.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell sometimes. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I'm just bored. I'm like, so are the rest of us. Join the
Yeah.
team. But I mean, we got 34 cars going for 33 spots. Penske's fast right now, but I mean, for race trim practice, the lap times and the speeds don't matter here at all because of how much the turbulence behind other cars and all that affects these cars. Like Scott McLaughlin was half a straightaway back from somebody earlier and set the fastest lap of the day so far because there's just a big hole in the wind that he can just go as fast as he wants. But the thing to look for right now is who can pass other cars that can also pass other cars. So you want to see competitive guys going against competitive guys lap after lap in these big groups that they do in the afternoon. And then probably tomorrow, they'll mostly shift to qualifying type runs. Definitely Friday will be all qualifying runs because they turn up turbo boost on Friday. And then this weekend's going to be weird for qualifying because Saturday is everybody qualifying day, but it's supposed to rain in the afternoon and evening. So you're going to see, really, I mean, you want to get the first draw in qualifying. You want to be able to go out first. And then as you get further back, you might get into some rain, but if you're on the bubble towards the back or trying to get into the fast 12, you're probably not going to get a second run. So your first run needs to be flawless for this weekend, which is, it's weird because last year it didn't rain at all, like the entire 2 weeks. And then this year it's every friggin' day. So we haven't had a 500, like the race affected by rain since 2007. So here's hoping for that. It's been beautiful the past couple of years, but we'll see how it goes. Nobody's really stood out to me so far today. The Andretti cars look okay. Um, that's about it. Uh, the Dreyer and Reinbold cars with Hunter Ray and Daly are fairly good, which those are two guys that I would expect to be pretty good. And Connor Daly finally not having dumbass Carpenter team behind him. He's actually got a team that supports him and doesn't want to just fire him in the next couple of weeks. So I think Daly with guys that are just focused on the 500 is going to be good for him. He's led laps here. He's finished well here. This is his best track every year. And just doing it this year, I think once you get settled back into the car and into, the rhythm of how everything works, I think he's going to be able to figure it out. And he's one of my ones to watch for the 500. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's got a shot to be up there. Out of the people that are only 500 teams, probably Larson and Daly are the two that I'm looking at the most.
I could see that. I could absolutely see that. I just like how Dreyer and Reinbold is both Ed Carpenter Racing rejects.
Hunter Ray was Andretti.
He replaced Daly last year, though, didn't he?
That was just because he's a veteran and didn't have a current drive. They wanted somebody that understands how the cars work to look at the data and tell them if the car sucked or not.
Right, but he's not still there anymore, so I'm calling him a reject.
Okay, even though the intent was not for him to be there long term. Yeah. I see your point, but that's like that's like if Dale Jr. got in somebody's cup car right now for the back half of the season, said your car sucks, fix it, and then they're like, thanks, bye, and you're like, reject, he sucks.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I see what you're saying. It makes it more fun. It makes it more fun to call that the Ed Carpenter Racing Rejects team, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know what their technical team looks like, but you might be right there.
Especially honestly, if both of them can beat all of the ECR cars.
Oh, I hope so. I hate Ed Carpenter. It's hilarious being from Indiana because you go to the track and Ed Carpenter does literally anything. Like he could breathe or have a heartbeat, and everybody's like, "Yeah, Ed Carpenter, woo,
Yeah.
Butler guy." I'm like, I hate him.
Mm.
But I mean, VK is the top Carpenter car right now and 14th today. So
So do you hate him because of the daily situation, or is it from something else?
I didn't like him before that, and now it's just I hate him.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked him. Like as a kid, I was like, "Oh, cool, Indiana person, that's neat." But then
Mm-hmm.
he always came across as one of those snobby dickhead type of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he only did ovals, and it was really bad. And he'd qualify well, and he got like 3 poles here or something crazy like that. And
Huh.
then through the race, you just watch him go, which I
Yep.
always thought was hilarious. But I don't know, you can do 4 laps, but not 200. So
Yeah.
but
It's not the
also
Indianapolis 4.
every year
Or no, that'd be
recently,
what, the Indianapolis 10?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Every year recently, Carpenter's come in for because he's doing a one off for the 500 this year. I think he might be doing some other ovals, but the one off for the 500 this year. Christian Rasmussen's been driving the 20 car all season. Well, Carpenter owns a team, kicked him out of the 20 car, put Rasmussen on a different team, put him in the 33 car for this week, and Carpenter's taking the 20 car. It's like you get in the extra car.
Yeah, right?
I mean, you got a guy that's going for full season points, and you're like, get out of my car. Like, what?
Does IndyCar have owner points like NASCAR does?
Yes. I think it's a different setup, and it's like kind of janky how it works, but they do
Okay.
have owner points.
So in other words, he could be screwing up the owner point situation too if he does bad.
I mean, it doesn't really matter when the Carpenter cars are all outside the top 20 every week because thank God we fired Connor Daly.
Yeah, right.
I knew I was going to shoehorn that into this sentence somewhere.
I mean, you already shoehorned it in like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, it was high noon for another one, but you know.
Hi, what is it with you combining different phrases and not even coming up with the right phrase?
I
High
don't know.
time, I think, is what you're looking for there.
That one
Not
was
time.
that
High
one was
time.
trying to be sarcastic and funny, and I see that the joke fell flat, but
It did fall flat.
that's okay. It's
It's like
fine.
earlier. What did you say earlier that was
I don't remember.
you like combined two different phrases and it wasn't right at all. I
Something
don't remember what it
dumb.
was now.
Kyle
But
Larson's in 15th in practice right now. Sound the alarm. He sucks. You heard it
right?
here first. He's bad.
Yep. You're gonna wreck on lap 1.
He's not even going to make the race. He's going to get bumped out by Catherine
How
Legg.
wild would that be?
Well, it wouldn't even be the first time that's happened to McLaren
Yeah.
because
True.
Alonso got bumped out by Kyle Kaiser.
Yeah. Oh. And that was okay, that was a few years ago, so my memory is a little foggy, but
2019.
didn't he get bumped literally because they were more concerned about having the right paint color on the car?
Yeah, so they didn't bring a backup car,
Mm-hmm.
and he crashed the primary car in practice, and they didn't bring because it was actually paint. It wasn't a wrap. They didn't bring the paint from the factory, so they ended up having to go to some like body shop, detail shop in Indy that
Mm-hmm.
had the right McLaren orange paint color. Sent it to that shop, had them paint it, and then brought it back and started practicing again. And that entire time between when they wrecked and when they got the painted finished car back, they did not take to the track. There were like 2 days that they didn't even have a car on the track.
Oh, and you can't call it orange. It's papaya.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Gotta be another word that doesn't rhyme with anything.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that'd be pretty wild if Larson missed too. I hope he doesn't, but
I also hope I hope there's some storyline. Like either he's in the bottom 4 trying to make the field and barely makes it,
or he's in the fast 6.
or he's going for pole. Like
Yeah.
there needs to be some storyline with him because otherwise it's just kind of like Kurt Busch being here was cool. Kurt Busch obviously didn't have the following Kyle Larson does, but Kurt Busch being here is pretty cool. But he ran like qualified 12th or something and finished like 5th something. Like he was up front, but never was challenging for the lead at all. But
Right.
he was there. It was kind of neat. then went to Charlotte and engine went kaboom. So
Yeah, right. Um, is that all you got for IndyCar? Is it time for picks?
it's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Well, let's recap last week's picks. It's a good thing we don't count ARCA East picks because Tyler changed from Sawalich last minute, and then Sawalich ends up winning. And the guy you did pick wrecks on like lap 10. So it's a good thing we don't do ARCA East picks.
ARCA sucks.
IndyCar, 4 races into the season. I outpointed you by 1 position with willpower over Lundgaard, so you now have a 50-point lead, 125 to 75 in IndyCar. It'd be a lot closer if old Scooty Mac wasn't cheating at St. Pete, but it is what it is. Trucks, your boy didn't do so hot. Stuart Friesen wrecked mid-race. Eckes finished 4th. So I retake the truck lead now by 5 points, 328 to 323. Xfinity,
I knew it was going to happen as soon as you took Christian Eckes from me.
I know, right? Xfinity, you did pick the winner. Congratulations, you got yourself a winner pick with Justin Allgaier. I think that might be your first win of the season, at least in Xfinity.
Probably.
You picked Eckes at Bristol, so I think that's your only truck winner. And then I don't think you've picked a Cup winner yet. But either way, congrats on your first Xfinity win of the season. It closes you in a little bit. 29-point lead for me now, 381 to 352 in Xfinity.
Woohoo.
Yeah. And then neither one of us did great with Cup. Like, Denny finished 4th? Yeah, finished 4th,
like
but
I don't think he ever got any stage points or anything.
He had 3 stage points from stage 2. That was it.
Chase Elliott just decided to be mid. I complimented him too many times. He had to remind me of how bad he is. So,
not as bad for you as it could have been because Denny was non-existent most of the race until the end. But my lead is now 66 points, 369 to 303 in the Cup Series. On to picks for this week. We've only got we're making picks for ARCA, Cup, and Indy 500 pole as well. But the only actual points race this weekend besides ARCA East is the truck race at North Wilkesboro. So that's the only one of these that's really going to count for anything beyond this week. The other 3 picks are just for fun. ARCA, the Dutch 150, Dutch Boy 150 at Flat Rock Speedway. Saturday, right? Saturday, is that the 18th? Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Flow Racing. There is exactly 4, count them, F-O-U-R, competitive cars in this race. William Sawalich, Gio Ruggiero, Connor Zilich. Okay, 3.5. And Tony Breidinger is the 4th. So, might have a Tony Breidinger top 5. That's something, right? Might be a reason to tune into Flow Racing.
No.
But, yeah. Tyler, who wins the Dutch Boy 150?
I'm going Connor Zilich. I've been really impressed with him just in general when racing this year. He's been really fast in pretty much everything he's stepped foot in. But I don't know if he's got anything on the Venturini and Toyota guys, but we'll see.
He didn't this past weekend at Nashville, but that doesn't mean he won't this weekend. I am going to go with the Venturini guy, though. Venturini guy in Gio Ruggiero. I think he picks up another win. I think he probably had the fastest car at Nashville until he got that flat tire and wrecked early in the race and then basically gave it to Sawalich. So I think Gio Ruggiero comes out and picks up another one this week at Flat Rock. All right, on to the truck race. Our only actual
race.
points race of the weekend. I lost my info on this race. I got to pull it back up here. I'm on the wrong page here. NASCARmedia.com takes forever to load anything anymore. It's like the most poorly optimized website I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it's NASCAR, so.
Yeah, right. Saturday, 1:30 p.m. on FS1, the Wright brand 250. Tyler, who wins for the trucks at North Wilkesboro?
I'm gonna go with Corey Heim. He's been pretty good on short tracks recently. I don't know. It seems like a track he might be good at. It's got some different geography, some other tracks. He did okay here last year. We just don't have a lot of data to go off of on this track because I mean we didn't
Yeah.
run here for like almost 20 years. So yeah, I think Corey Heim's got a shot this week.
Fair enough. I would agree with that. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This may not play out well for me, but I'm going to take a chance here. Now that I've retaken the truck points lead, watch, I'm going to lose it by a lot now. I'm going to go with Butterbean. Brendan Queen is in the one truck for Tricon this week. Butterbean has been hot on the late model circuit lately. I think he comes out here and puts on a very good showing in that Tricon truck at North Wilkesboro. He may not win, but I think he's going to put on a very good showing and get me a good points day. So Brendan Queen, I think, I'm going to say, I think wins the truck race at North Wilkesboro. We'll see what happens there. On to the Cup Series. The Open will be on Saturday. The All-Star Open from North Wilkesboro. That will be Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1, just before the All-Star race. Now, the format for this season, before we get to our actual picks for this race, there are 17 drivers that are locked into the All-Star race. Those are points race winners from so far this season and last year, previous All-Star winners that are still competing full-time, and past champions who race full-time. That gives us 17 drivers on the entry list, those being Chastain, Larson, Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Elliott, Hamlin, Blaney, Allmendinger, Buescher, Truex, Bell, Logano, Byron, McDowell, Reddick, Stenhouse, Suarez. Everyone else has to compete in the Open. There will be a total of 20 cars in the actual All-Star race. The top two finishers from the All-Star Open advance to the All-Star race, as well as the fan vote winner. So, now that we got that out of the way, Tyler, who wins the 2024 NASCAR All-Star race at North Wilkesboro?
Kyle Larson.
Okay, two in a row.
He spanked the field with this race last year.
He did,
and
yes.
I don't think it's going to be any different. Even though he's going to start from the back this year because he's not going to be there for qualifying, he's going to come through the field like a hot knife through butter. I don't think anybody stands a chance against Kyle Larson at this track.
Not only did he spank the field in the All-Star race last year, he spanked the field in the truck race last year too.
Yeah.
So he's got something figured out at North Wilkesboro for somebody that had never been there before.
And either he's going to come there feeling good because he did good in Indy qualifying or being really mad because he didn't. So,
yeah. Either way, it probably plays out well for him.
Yeah.
Speaking of somebody that's mad, I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, 2 weeks in a row now, has gotten what looked like surefire wins taken away from him for one reason or another. One of those by Kyle Larson. I think Chris Buescher is fed up. He's mad. He's going to go out. It may not be a points race, but he's going to make sure he ends up in victory lane at the end of the night. I think Chris Buescher wins the All-Star race.
Gonna have to take out Kyle Larson to do it.
Yeah, right? All right, now on to Indy 500 qualifying this weekend. Tyler, who do you think takes the pole for the Indy 500?
I'm going with a safe pick this year. I'm going with Scott Dixon. He's been really fast in qualifying. Scott Dixon the past couple of years has found every possible way to lose in Indy 500, and this is the first time he's been fast in qualifying. So he's either one extreme or the other. He's good at the race or he's good at qualifying. I think this year he's going to be able to put it together. The Ganassi cars are so fast in qualifying here, and they have been for quite a long time. I really think it's going to take a lot to go past the Ganassi guys this year, and I think even though Palou got it last year and he's been really fast every year he's been here, I think Dixon's going to be able to pull it out again this year.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go out on a limb again. And I'm going to say we have the storyline of all storylines as Kyle Larson takes the pole for the Indy 500.
He's got a shot.
He does. He's got a shot.
I don't know if Kyle Larson is going to be as fast as Rosenquist was last year in the McLaren. The other McLaren didn't qualify very well. I mean, they got in the top 12 at least. I think both of them were in the top 6, which, I mean, that's well. But as far as going for the pole, they didn't really have a shot. They were a couple mile an hour off everybody. So we'll see if Kyle Larson can be the wheelman we think he is. I definitely think he's got a shot. It's going to be one extreme or the other. It always is with McLaren. They're either going for pole or going for last. So we're going to see which one it is.
And it always seems to be with Larson, too. Not just McLaren, but like Larson seems to have that, too.
Feast or famine, no matter where he goes, either he's winning or he's flipping in the dirt in Kokomo. So,
yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's our picks for this weekend. F1 also this weekend from Imola. 9 a.m. Eastern, Sunday morning on some sort of ESPN. This has got to be the longest race name I've ever seen in my life. Like, we've been joking about NASCAR race names this year. Listen to this. The Formula One MSC Cruises Gran Premio del Made in Italy e del Emilia Romagna 2024. Yeah.
I'll stick to my 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. That's it.
Yeah, right? Also, Max Verstappen.
Okay. Also,
you can
Max
have Lando.
I'll have Max Verstappen's rear wing because at least then he'll come in second.
There you go. I don't know. As fast as Lando was at Miami, I mean, it may be Lando or Piastri.
I don't know if that's going to translate to this track in the slightest. This is a high downforce track versus Miami's just straight. That track sucks.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think it might be a Ferrari weekend. They're bringing a whole bunch of upgrades this week, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Sainz or Leclerc challenge for the lead. But if Verstappen qualifies on the front row, you're just going to see him do what he did to Hamilton a couple years ago, shove him off track, because that's perfectly acceptable in F1 now, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yep. Because why would they penalize Max? He's the golden boy right now.
Come on. Penalize? No.
Right? Oh, all right. I think that's going to do it for us this week, though. Good episode this week. We'll be back next week to recap Indy 500 qualifying, All-Star Weekend, Flat Rock, Imola, and everything in between. So have a good weekend. Enjoy all the racing action this weekend, and we will hopefully see you next week, same time, same place. At that, I'm Garth. That's Tyler, and this is the Rookie Stripes podcast on Racing News Now.